escape by flying between the hangars and down the open road just a few feet from the cobbles. Hair-raising stuff. And when you got back to base, you found you had a visit from American General Eisenhower. Now, Danny Brown, the general had a word with Johnny, hadn't he?
Yes, he talked to him when he landed, and he said, did you have any luck? And Johnny, thinking that he escaped, thought he would modestly not admit to anything like that. He said, no, sir. He said, we didn't have much luck. The truth of the matter is I sat right over the top of him, and it was really just like a sheet of fire going right over the top of him. He didn't dare try to climb up to get out. So I thought I'd just cheer him up a bit, and I said, hey, Wingo, what the hell are you doing down there? And he suggested a very rude act to me, and I thought it would be best I hang it up at that point.
Well, your exploits in that, as you yourself have put it, hot and sweaty, tiny greenhouse of a cockpit, bring you in 1941 your first battle honor, the DFC. On Saturday that summer, stationed at Tangmere, you snatch a few hours off from daily life-or-death encounters and drive off to nearby Brighton in a borrowed car to have dinner.
Only to find out, Johnny, we were probably safer over enemy territory in our Spitfires.
He was with you that summer, Saturday, 40 years ago, as you said, squadron leader Nip Heppel. Well, Nip, of course, you flew together in combat many times.
That's right. There was nothing more dangerous, perhaps, than the trip to Brighton. Johnny borrowed the Padre's car, and we went and had a very lively night in Brighton. We were returning about just after midnight when an army guard fired 3 shots at us.
Well, he didn't stop.
In Littlehampton.
We didn't stop, did we?
We stopped briefly to kick up hell. Later on, we stopped again at Arundel because one of the bullets had gone through the header tank. We didn't know it then. And the radiator had run dry. We got some more water. But the next day, when we had a close look at the car, there was a bullet straight through the back, between us, between all 4 of us, through the dashboard and into the header tank. Quite clearly, we'd been extremely lucky. And,
were you driving or was I?
It's a very good question, sir. It seemed really that the Padre's car wound up more holy than it had been before.
Thank you, Nip Heppel. Well, the very next day, after apologies to the Padre, of course, it's you're back flying your Spitfires. Later that same summer comes the doomed Combined Forces operation to try to seize Dieppe, and one of the most frenzied air battles of the war. But in the midst of mayhem, the pilots keep their cool.
And I say again, good shooting, Johnny.
He was in his own Spitfire that day, a wartime hero himself, then Flight Lieutenant, now Air Marshal Sir Dennis Crowley Milling. Tell us about it, Sir Dennis.
Well, Cocky just said he never misses anything. This was actually the first time we'd ever engaged the Focke-Wulf 190,
right, yes.
which, of course, was superior to our Spitfire 5Bs. And in the ensuing battle, I was somewhere just below Johnny, and I saw him fire and hit a 190, which was beyond the range of any of us. And he was just a wonderful shot. And I did have time to say, good shooting, Johnny.
So when you switched from fighters to bombers, you got your own squadron, of course, of Typhoon fighter bombers. You were glad to have Johnny's squadron as escorts.
Well, indeed, I was. This was an attack on Abbeville, which was stuffed full of fighters, and they were there primarily, actually, to intercept the American B-17s. And I led a Typhoon bomber squadron in, with Johnny giving top cover, bombed the airfield, flushed out the fighters, which Johnny took the best advantage of, and never missed one, I don't think.
And of course, Sir Dennis, you're still associated with Johnny to this day as a trustee of the Douglas Bader Foundation.
Indeed I am.
We're very proud to do that, aren't we, Carl?
Another one there. Johnny and Cocky.
And Cocky, yes.
And for the Douglas Bader Foundation, and we're all working very hard to raise a large sum of money to help build a rehabilitation and sports centre for the limbless disabled, hopefully at Milton Keynes. We need a lot of money, and we believe this is a wonderful
You think Eamon,
Sir Douglas.
you think Eamon might give us a bit later on?
Well, he never will.
Early 1943, Johnny, you're put in command of a wing of mainly Canadian pilots at Kenley and promoted to wing commander. You were to lead them right up to VE Day. Your continuing gallantry is rewarded again, this time with the DSO. But after a mission in which 6 enemy aircraft are shot down, your Canadians give you their own award, Canadian Shoulder Flashes. You instantly lead them on another mission this time, to a pub. The Red Lion in Red Hill, still unchanged to this day. There it is as it was, and making a return visit at the age of 86. The barmaid from those days who helped us recreate that self-same visit, Win Lane.
Welcome back to the Red Lion at Red Hill, where you and your Canadian pilots had such a good time. My goodness, you certainly knew how to have a good time. In those wartime days, when you never knew whether you're coming back in one piece or not at all, you certainly have earned your night out. They're getting restless at the piano. I'm going to take their drink.
Believe it or not, you're not seeing things. You're right. From Montreal, Flight Lieutenant Larry Robiliard, and from South Carolina, Wing Commander Hugh Godfroy.
Cheers, Johnny. I wish you were here for this reunion.
Calling back out of the past in person, those same singing Canadian warriors as you spotted Larry Robiliard from Montreal, and from Pawleys Island, South Carolina, Wing Commander Hugh Godfroy. Hugh, that first night at the Red Lion with Johnny must have been quite a night.
Oh, it was a marvelous party. You know, I had the great privilege of flying under Johnny. He was gray cap leader in the air, orders crisp, cool as a cucumber, and aggressive as a bloody Yorkshire Terrier.
You didn't know how much I was twitching.
When the sun went down, Johnny, you were Johnny to us. You had an extraordinary ability to sense when the wing was at its greatest tension, and we needed something else besides just sitting around the mess. And I can remember it went like this one time, in my memory. You suddenly said, "Monty, that's all. Call the Red Lion. I'm sick of liver onions. We need to piss up."
Larry Robiliard, your memory of Johnny.
Well,
Careful, Robert, on that.
Not after that night, but really, Johnny, as far as Canadians were concerned, was a very regular, great guy, and son of a gun and a son of a Bobby, a great leader in the air and a great leader in the ground, and we'd have followed him anywhere, and we did.
Thank you, Larry Robiliard and Hugh Godfroy. Well, your Canadian pals there, of course, were not the only Commonwealth pilots that you fought with, Johnny. Some came from further around the globe, but each has his own special memory.
Yes, Johnny. Apart from what happened in the sky, I remember the record you liked to play before we went into battle.
Underneath the lantern by the barricade.
Well, setting your memory spinning there, Johnny, with that recording of Anne Shelton, one of your many pals from New Zealand. Group Captain Hawkeye Wells. And not by himself, flown in from Hamilton, New Zealand, Squadron Leader Jeff West. And from Wellington, Air Commodore Pat Jamie Jemison. And Hawkeye, for you, no battles were more memorable than the sweeps over France led by Johnny in 1943 in the RAF's new, highly developed Spitfire 9s.
Well, that's right, Eamon. The Spitfire 9 was a tremendous improvement on the rather clapped-out 5Bs we were all flying. And one of the biggest advantages of it, I suppose, was that from the German point of view, they couldn't distinguish the two. So that gave the possibility of exploiting surprise. And I don't hardly need to tell you that Johnny did it in a big way, because his was the first wing to be equipped with the Spitfire 9s, and for the first month or 2 months, the Germans didn't know what the hell was hitting them. It was Johnny Johnson. And I think from that moment, they started to lose interest, their morale started to go. And they never recovered that cockiness which they have in the Battle of Britain. Never. And it's all our thanks. You.
And Jeff West, Johnny wasn't
What a shot when I was.
Johnny wasn't a bad shot on the ground either, Jeff, and once took you with him on an off-duty shooting party, didn't he? Had something to say about your style.
Oh, yes. I thought that Partridge was the enemy. Yes, I know. And I put the gun at the hip and shot at everything in sight, so everybody threw themselves flat on the floor. And that was Johnny's story.
That was when he was shooting with the Honorary Air Commodore, Lord Titchfield.
That's right, yes.
You nearly bloody shot him, didn't you?
Jamie, let's turn to you, Jamie. When you were group captain at HQ in Uxbridge, you had a visit from Johnny seeking permission for very low-flying raids on enemy aerodomes.
Yes, that's right. And as was usual with Johnny, he got permission. And it was soon after that reports came back that he was flying so low over France that his Spitfire was shaking the French off their bicycles. But on behalf of all the New Zealand pilots who flew with Johnny during the war, I'd just like to say what a privilege it was to fly with such a tremendously inspiring and courageous leader.
Thank you, Jamie Jamison, Jeff West, and Hawkeye Wells. Well, Johnny, in 1944, no doubt leaving the strains of Lily Marlene behind you, you lead your wing with the D-Day forces into Normandy. Yours are the first Spitfires to take off from occupied soil since the war began, since the dark days of 1940, when there were street collections to buy new Spitfires to replace the ones shot down. This one was bought by the people of Manchester, and there you are, Johnny, an arm around each of the two leading aircraftsmen whose vital job it was to keep you in the air. On the left, LAC Radcliffe, and on the right, LAC Burton. It's 36 years since you saw your rigger, but he's here tonight, Arthur Radcliffe, and it's 40 years since you saw your fitter, but from his home in Durban tonight, Fred Burton.
Charge for riding a bicycle?
Yes.
Two on a bicycle, was it?
When Johnny was stationed in Sussex, another favourite pub was the Unicorn at Chichester.
Well, the old Unicorn is gone now, but I'm sure Johnny Johnson's memory stays on when he remembers the secret weapon.
The secret weapon. Arthur, you have heard too of Johnny's secret weapon.
Indeed so, Eamon. It consisted of barrels of beer lashed under the main planes to the bomb racks and flown by the orders of the wing commander, flown over to Normandy so the lads could have a taste of home.
The army marches on its stomach, but our pilots, they flew on best bidder.
Thank you, Fred Burton and Arthur Radcliffe. Well, Johnny, talk about Roll Out the Barrel. That really was doing it in style. No wonder Roll Out the Barrel was one of your favorite wartime songs, one you like to sing along with yourselves and with the wartime concert parties visiting your bases. And some of those great entertainers and actors would like to roll out the barrel for you again. And there they are, Peter Brough with Archie Andrews, Bill Fraser, Doris Hare, Evelyn Boulay, Hugh Lloyd, Richard Murdoch,